What does that even mean, Bowers game?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review, and today I'm very excited to check out Strife, Shadows, and Steam from V3G. This is for 2 players. It'll take about 60 minutes to play. It's for ages 14+. And in Strife, Shadows of Steam, this is the sequel to the original Strife, which is a head-to-head combat game of war, but with tons of extra stuff going on, as each card you play is going to have a special ability it will trigger, but also once that card goes into your discard pile, your legendary pile, it's going to have another special ability it will trigger. Tons of synergy, tons of things to experiment. This one has tokens and artifacts and events and all sorts of good stuff like that, but is it good? Is it better than the original Strife? Let's open it up. I'll tell you what I think about it. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Strife, Shadows, and Steam. First of all, we got our handy dandy rule booklet. It's one big page, double-sided, full color. It's got pictures, illustrations, and it's pretty well done. I really wish there was an FAQ sometimes, because you'll run into like card combinations and be like, I think this is how this card combination works, but you won't be 100% sure. It only happens every once in a while, but it is something that would be nice. But overall, well done rule booklet. So in Strife, Shadow, and Steams, this is going to be a head-to-head game of war, so to speak, but with fancy abilities thrown in all over the place. This is also the sequel to the original Strife, which is very similar, but also has a lot of differences in the cards, and this game also has a bunch of special cards that you can implement that's going to make the game more variable. We'll talk a little bit about those later briefly. So in this game, you're going to be fighting over these different locations, which are going to be out on the board, and they will give you various different number of victory points. They'll also have an effect on the bottom. So this one, add 2 power to any artificers during combat here. So for instance, if you were to play an artificer right now, which is one of the 10 cards you're going to start with in your hand, you would get +2 to their power. So these are your war cards for all intents and purposes. And these are going to be symmetrical. You and your opponent will both have the same 10 cards. So let's take a look at a card and I'll show you exactly what it does. So first, in the upper left-hand corner, that's how much power this card is going to have, because you want to have more power in order to win the different locations. Next, you're going to have the battle ability right here. This is what's going to happen when you trigger this card. And they have a nice little turn order card right here, which will show you exactly what you're going to do. So the first thing you're going to do, you're going to select your champions, you're going to flip them over at the same time, and then you're going to do the battle phase. So whoever has the highest number in the upper left-hand corner is going to do their listed thing right here first. So for this guy, you win this combat, your opponent loses 1 victory point. Over here, you're going to have your little score tracker, which is how you will keep track of your score. I've always liked this score tracker, and I still like this score tracker. I feel like it's nice, convenient, works very well. Now, you might also notice that there's special abilities at the bottom as well. This is what's called a legendary ability. This means that after this hero has been played, he's going to go over here into your legendary pile right here. So now what you're going to do is you are once again going to put another character down. You'll both reveal at the same time. You'll both do your battle abilities, depending on who has the higher number. Then you're going to look over here at your legendary ability that you have face up. Whoever has the highest number is going to trigger their legendary ability first, and that will add an added extra wrinkle into the game. You will always have a legendary and a primary fighter out there. And really the crux of this game is the fact that a lot of these can stack together and do different things. So we'll just go over a couple of the different characters, what they do. I already talked about the Clockwork Man, and he's going to be able to set out these tokens, which I haven't really talked too much about yet. I haven't talked at all. There's going to be a couple different kinds of tokens that you can set out on the board. They're double-sided tokens. Some will destroy an area, which means it'll lose victory points. So if you think you're going to lose a specific area, that might be where you want to put those. Also, you can completely destroy an area, and it'll just go back into the discard pile. Some, if you play, this guy, I think he's the 7, yeah, the Artificer, this is one of my favorite cards in the game, allows you to create like these little spiders that will go out to different areas, and they will boost your power by 1 in that specific area. And your legendary ability is that you're going to be able to put 2 of those out. So you can have up to 3 of those running at the same time, potentially even more if you stack up various different legendary abilities. We got the Gambler. I like this one. This one is pretty much you're going to be gambling that you're going to win. So that one's a lot of fun as well. The Illusionist, add +7 to the Illusionist's power. You have the Alchemist. You may force your opponent to exchange their current battle champion with one of a lower base power from their hand. If they cannot, reduce their battle champion power to 0. So this one is a very situational card, but there'll be cards that will allow you force your opponent to set aside cards. When a player sets aside a card, they don't have that card until they completely run out of cards. So you can play the Alchemist at the opportune time, which will trigger them having only 0 points. But anywho, you're going to continue to do this, gaining victory points. You're going to go over 3 rounds. So you'll just be like, oh, doing this, doing that, doing this, doing that, until you only have 1 card left in your hand. When you have 1 card left in your hand, that will trigger the end of a round. You will place this card, your final card, face down, so now you're going to have that as your legendary ability. Then you will rinse, wash, and repeat. Very simple game. You don't keep the locations. You're going to, when you run out of locations, you'll be shuffling them back into the deck. Now, a couple new things about this game are going to add some variability, are going to be the artifacts and the events. So these are the events, and you'll have 3 events throughout the game. Since you're going to play 3 rounds generally, what will happen is you'll just have 1 event that will impact each round, and it will change how you're going to play the rounds sometimes. Next, you're also going to have these artifacts. You'll mix in 2 of those per game, and they'll do some very different, crazy things. I really like those cards. I'll mention them more in the pros and the cons. Last thing I forgot to mention is what happens when you tie. Well, that's where this little Fate Stone is going to come into play. So when you have the Fate Stone in front of you, that essentially means you are going to lose every single tie that you come into, which stinks. But after that, you're going to increase the Fate Stone by 1. You're going to pass it over to the other player, and now they have the unfortunate burden of having the Fate Stone. However, at the end of the game, whoever has the Fate Stone is going to get that many points that is on the Fate Stone in extra victory points, and you'll see who has the most points. They'll be the winner of the game. So the Fate Stone, you don't want to have it during the middle or the beginning of the game, but at the end of the game, it's great to have because it's going to be extra points for you. It could be a lot of extra points, too, depending on how much you tie. But that, in a nutshell, is how Strife, Shadows, and Steam is played. Alright then, Strife, Shadows, and Steam from V3G. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros and let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, the game's not going to be for everybody for a couple different reasons. 2 players, which is going to be an immediate turn off to some people. Also, the game is definitely more complex than the first game. So it is something that I did want to mention if you're looking at this from the first game. If you like to play games maybe a little bit on the lighter side, I would recommend getting the first game before you get this game. Even though they do play very similar, this one just adds extra tokens, and you can mix in the events and the artifacts, which adds variability, which I really like. I'm going to compliment that in the pros, but it is more complex than the original game. And with that being said, the game can be a handful for newer gamers, especially when you're teaching this game for them to wrap their brains around all that, because you're just handing them these 10 cards, and it's like, all right, these 10 cards will all do different things. They'll all do 2 different things. So essentially, they have to sit there and read 20 different special abilities. And they don't have to. They could just play it all willy-nilly, which is normally what I did to learn. But it can be daunting for newer gamers. Now, they do recommend playing, when you first start the game, just playing with the battle abilities and not playing with the legacy abilities, but I really don't like that version of the game. But it is something that I did want to mention. Another con that I have with this game is that this is one of those games that the more you play it, the better the game is going to be. So generally, your 5th, 6th, 7th game is going to be better than your first game. Heck, even your second game is going to be better than your first game. And because you're slowly going to start learning what all the different abilities do and which abilities are cool to link together and where you should put your tokens and all sorts of various different things like that. And then there gets to be this little guessing game where you're like, all right, I know he's played his 6, his 3, his 1, his 0, which means he's still got his 2, he's still got this, he's still got that. And once you play the game more and more, it starts becoming a little bit of a guessing game as you're trying to outthink and outpredict what your opponent does, which makes the game better, I think. I really do like that once you have 2 people who've played it quite a few times. And it was the same way with the first Strife as well. Any other cons I have with the game? It comes in a tin. Some people hate tins. They just do. And also, there are some times where I wish... there'll be some instances where you'll be like, I think this is how these 2 card combinations are going to work together. You know, a little FAQ in the rule booklet would have been nice, but it only comes up every once in a while, so it's not a big deal. The rule booklet is pretty well done. Moving on to the pros, I really enjoyed the first Strife, and I like the second Strife even better, but I am, kind of a hardcore gamer. But what do I like about the game? I've always liked just the idea of this game. It's a modified version of War for all intents and purposes, but each card has a special ability. Each card has a death ability when they're in Legacy, and I like how all these different combinations work together. I like trying to figure out which combinations of cards are going to work together the best. I like the tokens a lot. Which one is it? The Artificer. I love his special ability. He's probably my favorite card in either deck. We're gonna add these little, these little +1 spiders that are gonna be on the location. They'll be able to help you out, but then at the same time, you have to worry because they might play their 9 card. They might just try to destroy that location. And I like the tit for tat in this game. I like how a lot of the special abilities in this game work, and I like the fact that they made the game more complex. I love the variability. Like, there's tons of variability in this game with the different events and the different artifacts that spice it up just enough to keep me coming back for more. I'm excited to mix both the decks up. I've not got a chance to do that, but I'm excited to do that because they also have a little section of the rules that shows you how you can mix up the old deck with the new deck, and I think they're coming out with another 3rd deck, which I'm hoping even bumps up the complexity just a teeny tiny little bit more, because I do. I like the game, and I like everything about this game. I really can't poke too many holes in this game. If you're in the market for a 2-player head-to-head game that gets better as you play it, this is a great one to have. It's small, it's compact, the rules are simple to understand, and for a lot of gamers, it's easy to learn, easy to teach. It's just, as long as they don't have analysis paralysis. I think that's one thing I should have mentioned in the cons part, is I feel like the people that had the most issue were the people who wanted to know what every single card did before they played anything. Those people are like, I want to win this game now, so I'm going to focus on what all these card combinations do together. But that's really not a con. That's true with a lot of games. So overall, Strife, the new version versus the old version, I like both versions, but I like this version a little bit better because it adds more gameriness to it. It adds more variability, and it's going to be one that's going to stay on my shelf for a long time. I'm very excited to see what they do with the 3rd iteration of Strife. So that is Strife, Shadow, and Steam. If you're in the market for a great 2-player game, I definitely recommend checking this one out. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know, what's one thing you wish was Steam-powered? I don't know, maybe a bread maker? I got nothing here. That's a terrible question. Let me know in the comments below a better question and what you'd like to have Steam powered. And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.